Hey guys, what's going on? It's Brooke here from Brooke on Board, and this is a very different video to the ones I've been planning on making. So I did plan on, showing off a load of cool stops. So far I'm putting together my onboard video and my Copenhagen video. I've not been able to get too much footage from either thus far, but we are going back to Copenhagen one more time. We're going back to Copenhagen tomorrow, and then Copenhagen again next week, before we change our trips. Anyways, you might be thinking, this looks very different to a cruise ship, and that's because it is. I'm spending 2 nights in Germany. Not so much by choice, but it is a very nice hotel. The reason why I am spending time in Germany is because on board the ship yesterday, I had a medical incident. I'm okay now, but I had a medical incident whilst on board, and I was taken down to the crew doctors, and they all agreed that it was best for me to go and get checked over in Germany in one of the hospitals. So they said that I had to pack my stuff up just in case I had to fly back to the UK or anything like that. So in this video I'm going to just talk about kind of the process which I'm experiencing at the moment, about how a cruise line would deal with a medical disembarkation. And let's get right into it. So I became ill, and it's not so much you get a fever or something, it was a lot more serious than that. Mine was definitely more on the serious end, and my medical incident was classed as an urgent one. So as soon as I went down to the medical centre, they did a lot of tests, x-rays, so on and so forth. I've not broken anything. I feel fine today, even though what happened yesterday was quite serious. I am okay today. I'm, talking, walking. I can remember things. I can't remember too much about what happened, as I did black out. But that's a whole nother situation. I'm okay now. But with the process of what's happened aboard Princess, again, this is, they've looked after me no end, and they've done really well for me. So I had to go down to the doctors, and once they had done their test, they said, it could be one of a few things on why you had a blackout and collapsed. So I said, okay. And they said, right, we're going to need to medically disembark you so you can get checked over and feel 100% whilst you're in Germany. Now, because I became ill whilst on board, and because of my episode happened whilst I was on board, when I got disembarked, I don't pay for any of the medical fees or anything like that. That's all paid for by the Holland America group, which we work under. So they pay for all my dressing, my nurse care, my travel, my transport, my hotel. The only thing that I've got to cover myself is food. When they said you had to pack up all your stuff, I thought, if Germany wasn't happy with where I was, they were going to send me back to the UK, and that might be the end of my contract. I've since, before I left the hospital, I had the all clear from all the doctors. They said I'm okay to go back on the ship. So before I can go back on, I'd send them documents, and now I'm just waiting in limbo on what happens next. So when they said that you have to leave the ship, you have to be medically disembarked, we were already docked in Rostock in Germany. So when I had packed up all my stuff. They took my Laminex card, which we used to tap in and out of the ship. They took that from me, as well as they gave me back my passport, and they made it like you weren't coming back, sort of thing. They made preparations just in case you weren't coming back. Worst case scenario, you don't return back to the ship. So they make you grab all your stuff from your cabin, and they give you generally about 20-25 minutes to grab that stuff. So you don't have very much time. It is just chuck everything in a bag and leave, essentially. We were quite lucky that we were having a very late departure. So by the time I checked out of the hospital, I still could have made the ship, but there was a lot of legal loopholes they had to jump through first. As upon grabbing my stuff, I had to go back down to the medical room, and they had an IV stuck in my arm, and I had to have IV fluid put into me. Again, it's all paid for that by the Whole America group, so I don't have to pay a penny. Back in the UK, I'm not used to paying for medical care anyways, because the NHS is an amazing service. So they said that they're going to wait for an ambulance to come. So the ambulance paramedics came over from Germany. They came on board. There is a bit of a struggle with language barriers and a bit of heavy accents, but it isn't impossible. So you do have to get used to just a few accents and language barriers, but you try your best. So when I was down there, I had IV fluids put in, and then they took the other bit of the bag that had the IV fluids, and they said, like, look, you have to carry that with you. We're in disembarking now. So I had my passport, I had my IV fluids, and I had to walk to the ambulance. Upon getting to the ambulance, I could walk, I could talk, I was fully conscious, and I was fully aware of my surroundings. But they still, might be a thing just in Germany, but they strapped me to the ambulance bed, and they took me on blue lights to the hospital. Now, I thought that was a little bit extreme, bringing me on blue lights. After all, it had been about 3.5 hours since my episode, so I didn't think it was necessary to put me on blue lights. But you know, it was a cool experience. It was very cool. Was I scared at the time? No. I was a little bit stressed to just try to pack everything up, and I had a few friends on the phone when I was doing that, and they were very supportive. It was very stressful at the time to pack everything up, but the actual episode itself, no, that didn't stress me out at all. And people go, how? Like, some people know what happened, like close friends. They go, how did you go through that and not get worried? I was like, just not. So upon getting into the hospital, they wheeled me in. I had an ECG done. I had head specialist, like head trauma specialist, look at me. I had an ECG done on the ship, as well as an ECG done in the hospital. I had blood oxygen levels read, all sorts of stuff. So I sat in there for about 2.5 hours, and they just monitored me every 20 minutes or so. And they were very nice. They were very nice and very helpful. I was just attached with a load of wires, which is very strange for me. Probably the weirdest thing was they had the blood pressure device, and every now and then it would just tighten up really, really tight around your arm. And if you've had a blood pressure device and you've had it like do once, you know how uncomfortable it is. And then this was going on like every 15-20 minutes. I was like, please just like let go. But before I left, they had given me a load of documents. They're all in German. I wouldn't show anyways on the video what they said. But basically it's here's the patient, they've came in, this is their current state, this is what they've had previous for their episode, this is why they've come in, this is what the ship's doctor has recommended happen, and this is what we've done. And then at the very bottom, the Whole America group, they sent an email, they sent a few emails back and forth, going, making sure you're okay, hello, how are you doing? You know, I only saw this just before I got released from the doctors, well, from the hospital. They said, make sure you can see all this, make sure you're sorting all this out, and make sure you're okay. On the very bottom, they said, look, they need to fill out this form. I was a bit, they couldn't fill out the form, basically. Because I had the form on my phone, I tried to email it across, but they weren't getting the emails, so the hospital couldn't fill out the form. So they had to write a handwritten letter, sign it off, and stamp it from the hospital. And they basically just said, look, you need to, it says that I'm fit to travel, work, and fly. And I've sent that off to my crew office, and sent it off to the port manning agent, and all that sort of stuff. So upon being released from the hospital, I had to wait for a taxi. The taxi was, again, sourced and sorted by the manning agent, the port manning agent, and the Whole America group. They picked me up, and instead of taking me to the dock where the cruise ship was, because I had just missed the boat anyways, they took me to a police station where they did immigration. So I had to give over my passport, and just like you do at border control, they stamp your passport, and you know, I can now say I've got a German stamp on my passport. Going for me, eh? So they stamped my passport, and they said, yeah, you can go now. It took literally 2 minutes. And then I had to get taken in the same taxi to the hotel which I'm staying in now. I don't even know which hotel it is. It's just outside Rostock. And I was under the impression that I'd be there overnight, and then the next morning someone's going to knock on my door, don't know what time, and say, right, get dressed, get ready, let's go. So someone did knock on my door, but it was housekeeping, basically saying, you should have been out of the room at 10 AM. Obviously, language barrier, so they didn't really mind. So I said, okay, no worries. I went and left the room, and I went back to the hotel lobby, and the hotel lobby said, you having a taxi now to airport? I said, probably. So they rang up my guys. They have more contact with my people than I do. And they basically said, no, he's not going anywhere. We're booking him another night in your hotel. So I had to go and check back into the same hotel, and they said that I've got to send over a few more documents, and then a few more people have to look at things. The ship's doctor has to approve things before I can come back, and then HR have to approve it as well. So once HR has approved it, then I got to speak to the crew travel office, and they've got to sort my flights out and find out which port is best to send me to. The best port to send me to them would be tomorrow when we're in Copenhagen. And then if not, then it'd be over the Christmas sands, and if not, it'd be back to my home country, United Kingdom, and I'd have to go to Southampton, where I originally docked. I don't really want to go down to Southampton again, that was a big faff. But everything's being paid for, I am being looked after really well, and I just thought I would give everyone a little bit of an update on what happens when you have a medical disembarkation. It is stressful and it is scary, especially when you have like a medical emergency to yourself, and then you're on your own as well. So you have this medical emergency, and then you get taken off the ship and you're in a foreign country. And then as soon as you leave the hospital and you get taken to the hotel, you're on your own and you're like, what do I do? What happens? Hopefully, this video will only be used as entertainment and information purposes, and hopefully none of you guys will actually have to look at this and go, right, what happened to his situation is going to be happening to mine. I hope nobody has to go through a medical disembarkation. It's different. Is it fun? Not really. Whenever you have to go to the hospital, it's never going to be fun. But this is some information, and I hope that you guys have found this useful. If you have, drop a like down below if you feel comfortable and you had a similar story. Be sure to share your stories down below. But my name is Brooke on board, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode, well, in the next video, and hopefully I'll be back on the ship and we're back to travelling the world. But thank you everyone for coming in, and see you all later.